Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sincere from the Standard 81 podcast, and I am coming to you tonight not only on YouTube, but I am also coming to you on Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. So, before we get into this tonight, let's do a 30-second countdown so that we can all get in here, gather our thoughts, and we'll talk about tonight's topic. In three, two, one. All right, perfect. So, if you haven't seen, I have put the link in the chat, in the comments there in YouTube. So, if you want to join the conversation, you can. Uh, Please, as you are coming in tonight, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe if you like the content, and share it if you feel like it's been helpful. But tonight we're going to talk about toxicity versus healing, and this is one that I want to kind of go off the cusp on, because I feel like it's something that can be uh shaken up with a lot of different things and misconstrued for a lot of different things uh in our lives. And but before I get into that, let me go ahead and share a quick 30-second clip I seen on YouTube, and then we'll get into the rest of the broadcast. All right, here we go. So pull this up here real quick. All right, here we go.
When you are in a relationship that is constantly draining and taking from you and depleting you, then it's time to let go. There's supposed to be a dynamic that brings two people together, that creates a stronger unit, that pours love and positivity into each other, that supports each other, that allows us to battle and deal with life better, because we have that person that we can lean on by our side. When you are in a relationship,
All right, so you heard that, and I started to let it play for a little bit extra just to give you guys a another perspective on things. But here's what I want to talk about. Oftentimes, when we say that we are healed, or we're on our healing journey, or whatever it is, we confuse this with toxic traits, right? We think that because we have raised our standards, we start being more demanding and more controlling and more selfish, that somehow that atones to healing, when really it doesn't. What it atones to is more toxicity. Here's what I mean. If you are truly healed and you are truly ready to get into the next phase of your relationship, the next phase of your life, and you're really truly ready to step into that brand new era, you are going to be a lot more selfless than selfish. I talked about that last week: selfishness versus selflessness. And a lot of times in this modern era, we think if we have somehow got ourselves together, and raised our standards and started being more particular about the things that we do, it somehow equates to us being healed, when that's not completely correct. Yes, it is true. Part of healing is to know what you have faced, face that particular issue, and make sure you recognize the signs This way you won't fall into those particular errors again. But that doesn't mean all of a sudden you become more demanding, more controlling, and more delusional in your expectations. On the contrary, it should teach you that, hey, listen, as I am in this particular position in life, I can discern things better. I can look at things more carefully. Because a lot of what I'm seeing happen, and in particular relationships, is that we equate the financial status, socioeconomic status, and all these material possessions as healing, or should I say, we have leveled up, when really we haven't done anything except upgrade our lifestyle. But then when we get into the relationship that we were hoping to get into, all of a sudden when those situations begin to rise, and those particular aspects of your life begin to show their face, you don't know how to handle them properly. Which is in particularly funny, because oftentimes we we like to say that we leveled up, we at a new level, we ain't gonna put up with things that we put up with before, but oftentimes we go right to the same thing that we had previously. It's just a new face with more material possessions. Is it not true? And we get older and older, and we keep on saying to ourselves, we got older, we didn't learn, we got wiser, we didn't learn, when in reality we haven't learned squat. The only way to genuinely heal is to let go. Let go. Stop being concerned about it. If you are able to sustain yourself, if you are able to do for yourself, if you're able to get the things that you need for yourself, that is great. That means, hey, step one of the process is over. You have recognized the things that you need to do for yourself. And now you can start looking for those same characteristics in the people. See, here's a biblical principle. Treat people the way you would like to be treated. But a lot of times we want people to treat us the way we would like to be treated, without treating them the way we would like to be treated. Let me see if I can rephrase that a little. We want others to treat us the way we think we should be treated, while treating them like dirt, or treating them like we're some kind of god, or we're some kind. And I'm not specifically speaking to women. I am also speaking to men, because see here, let me jump on the men here real quick. A lot of times when we get status, and I'm not saying this for all men, a lot of times when we get money and status, we think all of a sudden that we have control of the world, when that's not true. It is not true by a long shot. What we have done is put ourselves in a better financial position in order to obtain things, in order to live a comfortable life. This does not mean all of a sudden we become God. Capitalism and the things here in the States have made us think that somehow in obtaining money, we become God. Now, I will say this: a lot of times people will treat us like some kind of idol because of the money. But let's look at this. And there's a biblical story, right? Called the prodigal son, and it's found in the New Testament. And it's in the first three books of the Bible. It's in the first three books of the New Testament. Correction. And it goes like this: the young man, there was a young man, he asked his dad for inheritance, right? The dad says, sure, here's your inheritance. You go off and do your thing. As long as the young man had the money, Everybody was with him. Everybody was surrounding him. Everybody was giving him the big ups. Everybody was, but as soon as he lost everything, as soon as he lost everything, the people dissed him. We have watched people who are rich, who are wealthy, who are highly influential, doggone delete themselves as soon as everything went to pot in times of crisis, because the money and the things that they value were their God. That's toxic. Healing says, hey, I'm content despite where I'm at. I know that I'm getting to a place where I'm feeling more, where I'm being more redeemed and more healed, because honestly, I'm more content where I'm at. Does this mean I don't want nice things? Does this mean I don't like nice things? Does this mean that if I obtain wealth and high value and status, that's not something I would like? No, but it does mean if I do not obtain it, it's not going to make or break me, because at the end of the day, there's something more valuable than just having things, having stuff. What is in your mind? See, here's something we got to recognize. In order to change toxic traits and begin to truly heal, you must first renew here. The Bible says this: be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And in layman terms, it means this: change your mindset, and then you can change everything else around you. And we hear this all the time: self-improvement, 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 poverty mindset, mindset. We hear a lot of these terminologies thrown out there nowadays. But is anybody truly changing their mindset, or are they just changing their lifestyles and their particular materialistic values? Because I am tempted to say it is the latter versus the former. And we find that we carry these things right into our relationships. There's enough. I don't really need to talk so much about the ladies, because I feel like there's enough content out there now, especially with the red pill space, the manosphere space, um, that talk about the delusion of ladies. But ladies, I'll tell you this: the higher your standards are, the more you need to check yourself, because you got to start asking yourself at some point, what is a relationship about? What is the purpose behind having a relationship? What is the purpose behind marriage? And I know women don't like to downgrade in lifestyle, but if you are a high earner, ladies, and you already have it all, what do you need in your relationship? I put a TikTok out that talked about wants versus needs. And I'm gonna stop here just for a second, and particularly talk to my people, black people. We need to wake up. We have put out there some of the most toxic mindsets, and thinking that we are leveling up and bossing up, constantly talking about getting to the bag and leveling up and getting this money and woo woo woo. That a lot of times we are compelled, or better yet, we are driving these toxic traits that we talk about. We're not really healed. I have never heard of a healed person having unrealistic standards in their life. Most healed people realize that there are things you can change and there are things that you can't change. And for those things you can't change, don't worry about them. And for the most part, the only thing you can change is you. And if you want something, you got to weigh your options. How come it is that oftentimes we can do this with every other thing but relationships? We can evaluate the ups and downs and the values of what jobs look like. We can evaluate the ups and downs of what particular schooling look like. We can evaluate the ups and downs of certain degrees. We can evaluate the risk of an entrepreneurship, the risk of buying a home, the risk of a car, and all these other things. We can evaluate all these risks, but yet and still, when it comes to our relationships, and I'll say this over and over again, the one thing that can change our life forever, we don't think about it. We tend to leave it up to chance. We tend to leave it up to oh, we just gonna figure it out as we go. No, 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 no. You need to figure you out before you get into something. And I'm not going to sit there and say that I got everything figured out because I'm figuring it out just like you are. But the journey of growth is figuring out where you stand in your current position and saying, okay, either I can deal with this now or I can't. I've either conquered this issue or I have not. And then letting the person that you are getting involved with know that, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. So please forgive me if these things come to surface. We can discuss them and I can see how I can change. Not saying that, oh, this is just the way I am and these are my standards. And if you can't deal with it, you can peace out. That's toxic. We always like to look for the extremes when it comes to things when we should really be looking at the basics. We all know the extreme stuff. We all know the manipulation. We all know what love bombing looks like. We all know all this stuff. But what we're not looking at is the subtle things that we do from day to day that are really toxic when we talk and when we say we are healed. We say go to therapy, but yet and still we'll look for a therapist that shares our same opinion instead of giving us the real deal. And then we'll say that therapist is the greatest therapist ever. But when as soon as that same therapist combats your ideas, you say, "Oh, he's lame or she's lame." That's toxic. If you cannot be challenged in your ideas and your thoughts and the things that you do, you probably really toxic. But you don't see it that way. You just see it that that's just the way I am. And don't get me wrong, there's in each and every person there are certain characteristics and certain traits about each one of us that we're not going to be able to change. But I will say this: change and adaptation has to happen in order to have a successful relationship. I will say that one more time: change and adaptation has to happen in order to have a successful relationship. This is a contentious fact that most people do not like, especially as we get older. We get more settled in the way that we are and how we do things from day to day in our lifestyles and stuff like that. And then we think somebody's just supposed to come along and mold exactly into what we think they should be. That's wrong. Men and women alike. You can debate me these facts all day. I have never heard it once said in any successful marriage that one person does gives all the orders and the other person just falls in line without saying anything. Let me say this, gentlemen. Yes, your wife is supposed to be submissive. Yes, she's supposed to follow your leadership. Where are you leading her? What are you showing her? Submit yourself to God and she will submit herself to you. Ooh, I'm not pandering here. Ladies, respect your husband. If you consider the man you are talking to or the man you're dating your husband, respect him. He care less about your love. The Bible says it this way. It says honor. Honor, which is another word for respect. If you feel like you can't honor that man, you need to reevaluate and ask yourself, is this really the person I want to be with? And if you say it's yes, then maybe you need to re-examine and see, am I really as healed as I say I am? Or am I just as toxic as I was before I got into the relationship? Because each time you get into a relationship, each time you get into another situation, you are passing on traits, especially if you are sexually active. Yes, there is an emotional connection, but it's even more present. It's even more present when you start to interact sexually. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, men have it a bit easier than the ladies do, but there is a connection. I'm gonna give you a prime example. How come it is most men get upset if they find out their side piece or they girl that they just had a fling with sleeps with they homeboy? They say it's out of principle. What principle is it if you don't like her? If that wasn't your girl, if that wasn't somebody you were pursuing seriously, what principle is that? And I'm pressing the man because see, here's what it is. God created Adam first. So he's going to hold us more accountable. We can, yes, Eve did sin and she brought all that into the world, but God held Adam accountable at the end of the day. And he said, why did you let her do that? And when she did it, why didn't you just stop and say, I'm done with you? Because see, guys, a lot of times we put up with things that we shouldn't because the girl looks good, or we don't want to go back out on the market and have to do everything all over again. Let's just be honest. It's easy to be comfortable with something than to have to start all over. I know because I hate being single to a certain degree. Being lonely is not always fun. Being by yourself is not always fun, and I'm free enough and I'm healed enough to say that. Yes, there's the positive of me being able to come and go as I please, me not being held accountable by anybody to check in and do all that other stuff. But I'm gonna tell you, there are more times than enough where I say, man, it would be nice to share life with somebody. It'd be nice to share thoughts consistently with somebody. It'd be nice to have somebody to go out and do things with. It'd be nice. I'm being very real with you guys because I want you to catch the emphasis here. A lot of people that say they're single by choice, really honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Toxic. They have a bunch of toxic traits, toxic behaviors, and instead of wanting to deal with them, they'll say I'm single by choice because nobody can handle what I am or who I am, or my standards are too high and nobody can reach my level. That's toxic. That is toxic. Are you perfect? So now you want somebody to reach a perfection that you're not at. You want somebody to reach a standard that you're not willing to go out and reach. And let's get and once again, let's get off this whole financial trip. Let's get off this whole lifestyle trip because at the end of the day, you're going to leave this world just the same way you came in with nothing. Everything you accumulate, your businesses, your wealth, your money, your status, all that will be left behind when you die. So, what do you want people to say about you when you are on your deathbed, or when you are in that basket, or when you are in or when you are in the grave? What do you want people to say about you? Because right now, for the most of us, all they're going to say is, oh man, they was chasing a bag. Oh man, they had a lot of money. Oh man, they had a successful business. Don't sound like they saying much about your character. And if they had to ask about your character, they'd probably say, man, that person really sucked. Remember the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, the Christmas Carol? Because it is the Christmas season. Ebenezer Scrooge was one of the richest men of his time. But nobody really liked him much. Why was that? Because Mr. Ebenezer was so concerned about the value of a dollar and the things that he possessed that he couldn't see beyond his flaws. He figured that if you weren't hustling and grinding and getting to the bag like he was, you weren't worth anything. It took him to see his death finally in order for him to finally get the fact that everything he accumulate was worth nothing if people didn't care about him. He was going to die alone. Even with all his possessions, he was going to die alone. That's crazy, right? Think about that. Life. Life is about people. People, let's get this together. Let's figure out what life is about. Life is about people. The accumulation of money and material possessions is supposed to be to help people, to show the people that we love that we got them. We're there for them. Just like the God that I serve is there for us. And I know y'all may not like me mentioning my faith a lot, but my faith is who I am. It what gives me my thought process. So I'm gonna say it one more time. If you don't like it, just don't watch. I promise the guy. If you don't like it, don't watch because you're gonna hear me mention it a lot. But I'm trying to be I'm being as real as I possibly can here because whether you're a Christian or not, these principles apply. And if you want to have any type of success, you need to learn how to be selfless. more than you are selfish. All this focusing in on you and who you are and woo doo woo woo, it ain't gonna get you nowhere. You see all these people on social media, ask them where they're at in their lives. I'm gonna tell you like this: most of them are single, including me myself. I'm single, single as a Pringle, out here hoping that in having these different discussions and having these different talks and having these different monologues that somehow I'm going to affect those people that are out there searching for answers, especially the next generation. Because right now, everything we've got is crumbling because we're not healing. We're not really healing. We're just stepping over each other. We're just pushing each other out the way. We're just focusing in on ourselves all the time and becoming more selfish, more delusional, more idealistic. We're not really healing. We haven't become selfless. We haven't become giving. We haven't become more understanding. Heck, you ask people, and shout out to Kendra G for this. She runs a dating show, Singles with Kendra G. And one of the questions she has, I love this that she asked this question. What are three flaws you have to work on? And you'd be surprised that men and women alike cannot even name three, three flaws they have to work on. Just three. Or they'll say something like, I'm too giving, or I'm too quick to put my all into something and I need to monitor that. Is that really a flaw? Or is that a lack of discernment? Because putting your all into a relationship is not a flaw. It seems like you're putting your all into relationships that you shouldn't even be in. It's sad. You cannot name three things that you need to work on. I'm going to tell you three of mine right now. I know I need to be more patient. I know I need to work on my self confidence a bit more. And I know that I am quick to cut people off and I only see things in black and white. I've named four. And I know I got a lot more that I could probably work on, but being that vulnerable to somebody makes them see you as imperfect or not the image that you want them to see. See, we keep on saying we want somebody that's authentically real. We keep on saying that we want somebody that's emotionally intelligent. We keep on saying all these things because they sound nice, but then when you break it down and you really get down to it, do you really want that? Or do you want the toxicity that you always known because it is comfortable to you now? And healing means you got to hold yourself accountable, both men and women alike. Stop. Because it's easy to stay in something that you're comfortable with rather than improve. It's easy to stay where you're at rather than say, oh man, I got things I need to work on. Because work is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to change. It's easy to say, oh, my standards are different now. I'm different. I look at the world different. I'm this, I'm that, I'm woo doo woo. When honestly, we're just more toxic. What have you really improved? What can you really show for it? How has your mind changed in comparison to where you were before? Or have your standards just went up so far that nobody can reach them and you don't have to worry about healing? You don't have to really worry about healing because nobody can reach those delusional standards of yours. You don't have to worry about a relationship because you set your standards so high that not even Jesus wants to touch them. And it's all artificial crap. It's all superficial stuff. Because the moment that you get into a relationship for real and the stuff starts to hit the fan, all that garbage you swept under the rug, all that garbage that you didn't heal, all that garbage that you said you while you watch TikTok, while you watch Instagram, while you watch YouTube and got all this motivation and all these different advice from different people, you never really worked on yourself. You just heard what people said and adopted it to your own philosophies without saying, man, I need to check myself. What is it that I'm doing wrong? Why does this keep on happening to me? Why do I keep on attracting the same type of people over and over again? Why do I keep on getting in these relationships where people don't take me seriously? Why do I keep on having conflict after conflict? Why does it seem that I cannot have success when it comes to something long term? Why is it that I self sabotage every time I feel like things are going right? Why is it that I have these ideas about people in my mind every time they get too close? What is it about me? And we push it off and we'll say, nah, they need to check themselves. My standards are too high. They don't know what they're talking about. And maybe they don't. But here's the thing. Do you? Because I feel like a lot of us don't. Do you realize the differences between men and women? Do you realize that men show love a different way from women? Do you realize that just because somebody doesn't do a certain thing the way you do a certain thing doesn't mean it's bad, just means it's different? Have you asked yourself what are the standards that you put for yourself really about? Because we all know, ladies, I'm gonna speak to you real quick. We all know that, ladies, you ain't gonna date no bum, especially the older you get. You're gonna want more from a man. We all know that. But why do these standards go up so incredibly high after you've been damaged? Is it because you're hiding behind that? Guys, why do you keep on blaming the ladies? Why do you keep on chasing after girls that you know you have no shot with? And then saying, oh man, they don't want me, girls is out here, would you, would you, would you, would you, you know that girl ain't no good. You know she's for the streets. Why even chase her? You know what she was after? Ask yourself these questions. Because a lot of times you'll find out that is you have a lot more toxic mindsets than you think. Thinking to yourself, because I have come up in my social economic level, because I have come up in my income, I have increased my value to the public. Not really. Especially in the dating market. Black people, how come it was when times were the worst for us, we were more connected? Now that it seems like we have more plethoras of opportunities, we seem to be more disconnected than ever. Why is this? What is happening? Are we really healing? Are we just passing on toxic traits? We passing off toxic traits as healed people, as renewed people. I think it's the latter versus the former. I was really passionate about this tonight because I feel like this is the crutch of it. We keep on thinking that we are healed because of stuff we do or things we accomplish or standards or preferences we put in place when really we just have a toxic mindset. We tend to think about ourselves more than others. When if you had a healed mindset, you wouldn't mind some of these things. It doesn't mean you don't say no to stuff. It doesn't mean that you don't dismiss certain things, but it does mean that you look past certain things that are physical. It does mean you look past certain things that are superficial and start saying, what is it I really need versus what I want? What are my values? Do you even have core values? Do you even have principles of life that you live by? Or are you just making it up as you go? I think it's the former. I think it's the latter rather than the former. I think we're just making it up as we go. Our life is proving it to us. Our relationships are proving it to us because they're not successful. Guys, that's all I'm going to say about that. I've been on now for almost 40 minutes, 45 minutes going on this rant. I try to bring up a lot of different things, and I didn't bring up a whole lot of statistics tonight because I really felt like this was something that you don't really need to bring a whole lot of data into. You just know. You know whether or not you're in this what place you're in. For real, for real. Can you be more vulnerable with a person? Nothing wrong with sticking to your guns. But how vulnerable can you really be? Anyways, I'm done for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this after it's gone live, please type second watch over there in the comments. Check out my TikTok over there at the Standard 81 podcast. Also check out my Instagram at Sincere the Artist. You will find all my stuff there. I've got a running series called Let's Talk About It. That is a pretty dope series if I say so myself. Um yeah, and I'll see you guys on the next one. A matter of fact, I'll be back tomorrow night with another one-on-one with Sincere. I'll be talking to one of my homeboys, and we'll hear what he has to say. Until then, good night, and take care. God bless you all. Peace.